Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the GSD Show. We are on a different set today because we are actually live at GSDCON. Technically, GSDCON Day 1 just completed, and we're going to go over that in a second. But I'm here and joined with attendee, as well as member at Loudhumor, as well as a person who's crushing the industry right now, and recently, over the last year or so, a pretty good friend of mine, Delfin Ward. Welcome to the show, Delfin.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You've been listening for a while.
Yeah, so this is a monumental first podcast, and for that first podcast to be on the GSD show is like pinching myself.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
All right, so really quick, you're with Generator Athlete Lab. You're the CEO and founder, and you run it with your wife as well, correct?
I mean, I would argue sometimes she might be the CEO, and or the brainchild. But yes.
I love it. And you guys are based out of Austin, Texas.
That is correct.
And so we're going to talk about what it is really quick, but before we dive into what it is and all that stuff, really, I want to make sure the audience understands this is a valuable show to listen to, it's a valuable episode here. How much revenue, what was your best month in revenue over the last 12 months?
Recently, about 98,000.
98,000. You've had several months over 90 as well.
Only 2 right now.
Over this year, and we're now in May?
Yes.
And what has been your general range, your average?
As of recent, I would say between 82 and 86.
So totally pacing to be $1 million company this year.
That's the plan.
All right.
Yeah.
Profits are good?
That could be better. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I looked at your numbers. Profits are good. They can be better. They can always be better.
Correct.
But your profits are definitely good. So now that we know, okay, great, this guy's built a good business. Clearly, he and his wife got things figured out, and your team, because you got a really good team as well. I want to talk about what Generator Athlete Lab actually is.
Yeah. So we're a wellness and fitness business with emphasis on our wellness products, wellness modalities. So we primarily offer the sauna, infrared sauna, cold and hot tub, contrast hydrotherapy. We have a compression lounge, we have massage therapy, we have self-massage tools, and then we offer on the fitness side semi-private personal training.
Yeah, and I went out there and I got to test out some of the stuff, which is really cool. So overall, I mean, the way I looked at it when I was there is if you want recovery, this is like the place to go for recovery. And then you got some fitness stuff around it, of course, which is great. But this is the spot for recovery.
Recovery, yes. I want to, that's part of our kind of identity and growing is evolving. But yeah, recovery, yes. But I would argue more that we're a health and wellness company. In the traditional sense, athlete recovery is a sliver of the people that we see and treat. And so a lot of people come to us to treat pain, to improve their health and wellness. So they're already on that track, and then we see a sliver of athletes, and so eventually we're going to rebrand,
right?
And because we see more people that are active adults, and they're just in the general wellness category.
Got it. And so with wellness, what are their typical pain points? What is that person coming to you for?
Right. Well, I mean, just from my healthcare background, I know that 70% of people walking around, whether it's in Scottsdale or Austin, have chronic pain or some kind of pain issue. So, whether it's an overuse injury from their job or overuse injury from their sport, we can help with that, especially with our the type of massage that we offer. We're more clinical-based massage. The massage therapists that we hire, we go after those types. They're more results-driven massage techniques, and then we train them up. And then our wellness modalities, take cold hydrotherapy, that's historically that's been used to treat. You see that in athletic locker rooms, and so people are used to seeing that to treat inflammation. But as of recent, it's become really popular, especially with the term biohackers, or there's other people that have a podcast like that guy Joe Rogan, right? He talks about cold water exposure, the benefits of hydrotherapy, and he has a lot of smart people on his podcast that talk about the benefits of cold water therapy, and so it's already exploding.
I do it every day.
Yeah. So yeah, because you have a how many times you have a cold pool at your house?
Cold tub, and I do the hot tub and everything.
Yeah. So, and you feel great doing it. So I mean, so whether you're treating yourself for an injury, or if you're using it to enhance your mood, or to like your morning coffee. I feel like Tony Robbins when I do it. Now, like when I traveled here to Scottsdale, there's a couple places that I seek out to get my dose.
Did you go?
Yeah.
Yep. Where'd you go?
I went to Optimize.
Here, yeah, they're out in Scottsdale. So you went to that,
Correct.
that one? I think that's the one I went to.
Yeah, and the owner there, he's doing great things. He's helping a lot of people, and when I go to places like that, those are my kind of people. They're focusing on their health, they're focusing on their wellness. It's a journey for a lot of people, and there's some healing powers to it. And they become they're like evangelists for your brand.
Yeah.
So
as of right now, it's May 2022. When did you actually start your business?
we opened our doors September 2018.
Okay, so you've been in business now for coming up on 4 years. How big is your team right now?
We have 11 W-2 employees.
11 W-2 employees full-time?
Mixture of mostly part-time and some full.
Okay. And what would you say between year 1 and year 4 now, what would you say are some of the biggest things you've learned that has helped you become obviously a lot more successful?
That's a loaded question. There's a lot of things. A lot of it was making mistakes. That's a great teacher. And then also, as you go through different managers, different employees, you learn along the way. Then, the other big thing too is just constantly investing in education. Other things, not just to plug Loud Room or LRVT, but just again drinking that Kool-Aid and then surrounding myself with other smart people within Loud Rumor and then replicating it and doing the same thing in Austin. Talking to other business owners, and then innovating from what their industry and putting it in my industry.
Very cool. I know people was something that you really had a good focus on over this last 6 months or so. What are some of the biggest things that you've been working on in order to make sure that you get the most out of your people and your people also get the most out of the company? Because I know you are one of the guys I feel cares a ton about your people.
Yeah, I mean it's in our core values. We want to be carers. So when we started looking at our hiring process, through that, and that leadership, GSDCON helped out a lot. Hiring through that lens and firing through that lens helped out a lot. So now we're kind of getting people into the company that are for the most part, already bought or have those core values that we like. And then just recasting our vision, reminding them of our core values, and then just having that communication where you're kind of reminding them.
Yeah. That's on the people side. The next one is sales. You don't just get to 98K without really figuring some stuff out in sales. So
Right.
What are some opportunities that you saw, things that you weren't doing or things that you weren't doing well that you fixed along the way that helped you get up to, honestly, that's probably a top 5%?
I think one is just making sure the experience, the product is good. And just if that's there, those members are walking billboards. And so we haven't really had a chance, I'm not trying to brag, but we haven't paid for digital ads since July. And I know that can be dangerous. So, I realize right now that the market's changing. I can see the May numbers coming up. It's like, all right, I need to do that or start advertising or paying money for advertising. But, is going back to the original question, is just dialing in our sales process. When we hired our studio manager, we had expectations now, because I learned what a good studio manager looks like from just being around the team at Loud Rumor. And so, whether you want to call it you're sending it out to the universe or trying to manifest it, but that person showed up. And then I was able to identify that person, and I recognized that, hey, she's an A player. And so having the right people to do the sales training that I'm not necessarily the best at doing. She's a great coach. She coaching of our sales team. She's a force multiplier where she works with them and makes them great sales associates. She gives them the tools to reach out, to follow up, the scripts, and the expectation, the quotas, to make sure it happens.
Yeah. what are some of the tough conversations that you've had to get better at having, whether it's around holding people accountable, whether it's around, the hiring process or maybe even the firing process, dealing with somebody that wants a raise or a promotion? Now, what are some things that you're like, man, I really struggle with that, but now I feel better and here's why?
Having those tough conversations are not fun. It's almost like something you don't want to get better at.
They're called tough.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like when that needs to happen in the company, it's me that delivers the news.
Yeah.
And again, it's not something I feel good about doing, but and how I'm wanting to optimize that is that if I'm having my monthly check-ins, it's going to be expected. But sometimes when, as of late, or recently, sometimes it's not expected because I haven't been doing my job of doing these kind of check-ins. But for me, sometimes I will get feedback from other people that have had those tough conversations to kind of figure out the best way to deliver it. And some of it's just when I see that person, I immediately kind of set the tone at the beginning of the conversation, like, hey, this is a serious conversation. The performance of your job is coming up, or this is about your employment at Generator. I mean, so I set the tone kind of at the beginning, and then I kind of explain what's going on. And then I give them a chance to provide some feedback, and then that's where I learn if they're going to be coachable or if they're going to defend themselves and give me just a bunch of reasons. And just.
Well, what's that scorecard process look like that weekly meeting or monthly meeting that you do, check-ins, I think you called it,
Yeah, so most of those check-ins are done by my studio manager for our sales associates.
Okay.
And then with our leadership team, that's done on a quarterly basis, and then my mentors are telling me I should probably do it more on a monthly basis.
You should do it on a monthly basis, yeah. Do you have weekly meetings with your leaders?
We do.
Awesome.
Every Tuesday.
Awesome. Do you guys do daily huddles at all with anybody else in your team?
I don't. No.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Does your leader do daily huddles with your people?
She does weekly huddles.
Weekly huddles? Okay, cool. I want to dive into money, since that's what so everybody that's watching, listening, we're here for GSDCON money. So we do 4 GSDCONs per year, people, which we kind of talked about a little bit, sales, money, and then strategy, which includes systems, processes. Money, what are some of the things that you now, just by being here, you've confirmed you've been doing right, and then some things that you are excited to work on?
I think right now I'm more excited about things I need to work on.
That's like, always you.
Yeah, no.
That's always you.
No,
you found some right stuff, though.
Yeah. One is just, again, my story is like a lot of the studio owners' story, is that I'm taking the time to learn. So, I mean, I know that doesn't answer the question, but, like you, I suck at math. I've taken several courses over in my time in college and in high school.
I don't suck at math. I sucked in math.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm good at math right now.
See, and I want to start saying that too. I need to be better at math, and but starting to nerd out on spreadsheets, and then seeing how it can tell a story, and then just hearing how, like Paul was mentioning earlier, it's more like a rearview mirror, but you have other other KPIs or whatever he was talking about, what leading indicator,
lagging indicators.
Yeah, that can help change that story. So, basically that I'm on the right track by investing in that knowledge and not just like, I'm just going to allow my bookkeeper to interpret that. So it's like, okay, I need to own that.
Yeah.
So,
well, the truth is, a bookkeeper won't interpret it.
Yeah.
A bookkeeper will compile it, but the average business owner does believe that they'll interpret it and just give you any red flags.
Yeah.
But they're not business owners, they're not entrepreneurs in most cases. They're bookkeepers, so they're just going to make sure that the things get done in the way they're supposed to get done as far as reporting. But then afterwards, the interpretation either comes by us or nobody else. Mm-hmm. Now, I've talked with you about numbers. You are a better numbers guy than you're giving yourself credit for. So what I'm curious about is, what are some of the numbers that you've looked at over the last year or two that when you looked at it, you're like, you know what, I bet you if we fix this, we can get more revenue, or we can get more profit, because your profit's good on a $98,000 revenue. you don't trip and fall into that. So what are some of those?
Going back to the sales process, making sure that our first time experience clients, that if they don't sign up, they're getting followed up with. And then towards the end of the month, for a closeout, we'll offer them another promotion or special. On my side of the fence, looking at the top line and now the bottom line, I'm starting to understand, like you guys are giving me tools and things that I go back home to do, like those levers I need to pull. And then it's also given me like more questions to ask my bookkeeper and my CPA. So, I mean, it's like I don't want to say, I don't want to sit here and think, okay, hey, 98,000, I have it all figured out.
No, but that's exactly what you just said is already 90% of figuring it out.
Yeah.
When I get the stuff, when I look at the numbers, I know what questions I need to ask.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. A lot of people the reason a lot of people fail at numbers is when they look at the numbers, they think that answers are going to jump out at them. You're never going to get an answer from your numbers. You're going to get questions from your numbers. Like in sports, if I'm looking at, let's say, Chris Paul, and I go, man, why is he shooting 30%? That's it. That's all I'm going to get. When I look shooting 30%, I'm not going to go, oh, he's shooting 30% because, whatever. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no answer. I'm just going to go shooting 30%. That's not right. He's normally 50%. Why is he shooting 30%? Why is Chris shooting 30%? You start looking around, you start asking questions, you go, wait a minute, he's shooting from here all the time? Why is he always shooting from there? Who's guarding him? He's getting double teamed all the time. Why isn't anybody clearing up space for him? Okay, look, here's the deal. From now on, he's going to shoot from over here. From now on, if this guy's guarding him, we're going to switch up by somebody's picking him. And if two people start guarding him, then we're going to spread the floor. Like there's now, you cut questions, and now you can start creating the answers. And that's what you're starting to realize. Or actually, what you've already been realizing is now I look at the numbers, and I go, okay, now I have questions. And that right there is where the real entrepreneur starts working, right?
Right.
So I'm proud of you, dude. That's great. It's a big step. And I feel like a lot of people don't even get that far, but it's worked for you in a really good way. You're married, and you run the company with your wife.
Correct.
That comes to as a challenge, as you've heard a couple of people ask questions around it, comes to a challenge of any husband and wife team. How do you and Jessica have a really great relationship and a great business?
That requires work, and I'm not gonna. I will say there's definitely times, especially when times are not good in the business, where it becomes really stressful, and not to get too vulnerable, but it's like I didn't have that skill set at that time of the business to fix things, or so. But I am lucky to be married to like a type A personality woman. I mean, she gets a lot of stuff done.
I have met Jessica. She moves fast.
Yes. So, and sometimes I'm chief bottleneck, but she moves fast. She gets a lot of stuff done. She has a lot of superpowers. She herself is getting ready to. She just interviewed with EOA.
Okay.
And so I'm happy because she doesn't get a chance to get as plugged into Loud
right.
Rumors.
And you have one out in Austin.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy for that. I'm kind of jealous actually, but she's about to join that. But there are just like there are like some things like setting boundaries. Like hey, we don't talk about business in the bedroom, which sometimes is still hard because you got to get away from the kids.
Because money is sexy, and if you're talking about money and sexy stuff, bedroom's not a bad spot.
Yeah, that's true.
My audience, all four of you.
Yeah. Communications better is working on communication, delegating, because as stuff starts to pile up on me, I've learned that I need to take off some of these hats and delegate it out, and so I can kind of focus on the important things. But it took time for us to get there.
Yeah.
But again, she balances me out. If anything, she makes me a better man.
So if I were to talk to her, what would she say are your strengths, the stuff that she relies on you to get done in the business? And then after you answer that question, what do you rely on her? Like, what are the roles?
Well, I think part of it was I at the beginning of the business, I would go towards my strengths, which was like just being the workhorse, like lifting the heavy things, fixing things, cleaning things, which is not sexy. And then as as I started figuring out what was required out of the business, some of the functions, it was, the HR. It was the onboarding, it was running payroll. For her, sometimes looking at numbers on a daily basis, it puts her, she's such a reactor sometimes, in a good way and a bad way, where it doesn't suit her well, where I can kind of process it and not react too quickly, or it's not a level 10 urgent matter that's going to burn the house down, but I can handle it my way. For her, when it needs to happen quickly, I give it to her, because I know, and it's some of that stuff that it's tedious for me, but she just bangs it out.
Yeah.
She's really great at, sharing that energy. She's like a Mac of four. She brings the energy and elevates the room.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and she's Italian like you, and she's very passionate. Yes, she's her parents like to remind me she comes from good stock. So they're all hard workers, and I don't know if that answers all your questions, but what was?
So I'll tell you, this is a trend that I think is a reason why you're so successful with your staff and your members. I think. When I asked you a question about what Jessica would say about you, you answered in about 5 seconds, and then you went on about Jessica for about 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. But you always, and again, it's a strength of yours, but you really, really do care about everyone first. You really care about a lot of people. You want to see people happy. You want to make sure people are safe, they're taken care of, they've got what they need. I see it even with members here and the way, even with us, guys, for everyone watching and listening, we asked a bunch of members to create a testimonial video for us, and everyone pretty much did, but everyone held up a cell phone and just did something like that. You hired you had your internal video person go ahead and create a video for us. That was really well done with music and everything, because that's just the way you do it. You want to make sure that you want to make people feel extra special. You want them to know how special they are in your life. And I could learn that from you, and I've learned that from you and other people in the group. It's like, okay, I do care about people, but man, there's some cool ways to show it that I haven't thought about. So, because I know your wife's going to watch this show, and you're like, okay, how do I make her feel good watching this? Tell me the truth. That you were thinking about her watching this?
Maybe. She nerds out on other things, but I probably would show her. Yeah.
Yeah, you would. But what I'll say is your level of care is amazing. So I actually am interested in seeing your progression, because I think the one thing that is going to be interesting is now when you create that next level of management now and really helping guide and develop them, because you're obviously your care is going to always be great, but your ability to now look at a lot of the stuff we've talked about on the finance, on the strategy, and the people, and be like, okay, I'm holding you accountable to this metric by this date, no matter what. Right now, how are you feeling about those particular conversations versus Jessica?
The question was, how do I feel about
having those really strict guideline conversations? For example, who's more comfortable saying to somebody on your team, this is what needs to be done, and this is when it needs to be done by, no exceptions?
Right. So here's the funny thing. So Jessica will she wants it done, and then I'm the person that delivers the message in my way.
So is it because, I get it, because I feel like her.
Yeah.
If she delivers it, it may not go as well.
She's a Sicilian. I'm not bashing Sicilians.
Okay, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but sometimes if she'll filter it through me so that
You're her translator.
Right. I'm not her anger translator, but I'm her compassionate.
I was thinking of that.
Yeah, I love that skit. I'll have her. I was like, okay, let's think like humans first. Let's make sure that we care what's going on.
Opposed to what? Think like humans as opposed to what? I want to hear, because I'm her right now.
Yeah, no. How she would deliver a message to me is not how she should deliver a message to our staff.
Okay, so how would she tell you?
With that, I can start gesticulating like an Italian, and and saying it kind of just matter of fact and
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that fiery intensity. It's how she would do it. I mean,
Can you give her an imitation?
I'm not going to do that. No, not if she's going to. And I don't.
Have you ever imitated her in front of her? Like
no,
just you and her?
well, here's the thing. I don't have the facial muscles that I think Italians have. I can't do that. I don't have it.
So,
They're animated.
Let's play the Godfather theme right here.
Yeah. Exactly. The first time I met my father-in-law, who's from Sicily, you know, he has that Italian accent, and it's just like, it was an intimidating moment, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So look, I think you're doing phenomenal, and I want to know what's on the horizon. What are the next things? I know you just invested into something else as
Right.
well. What's on the horizon after this?
You know, I want a simplified version in our in the second location. So, you know, I wanted to be, our main profit center is the wellness side of Generator Athlete Lab. I wanted to have that kind of rebrand look. I want to break the model as much as I can, fix it, and then do it again in the third location. Break it again, and then just make sure I have a good product that, and then decide from there if it makes sense to keep it corporate, and then just be happy with, you know, helping those communities where it's located and it's generating good cash flow, or if it makes sense to pursue a more aggressive expansion route, which is franchise, which is a whole different beast, because I know the level, the unit economics for that to make money it's a whole different business model.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have I've heard anywhere from 100 stores to for it to make sense.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of smart people. I've talked to like Rick Mayo,
Yeah.
and he's like, couple proof of concepts, man. Just do that.
Exactly. Everyone
Even
I've talked
Dave
to,
earlier.
same thing.
Yeah.
I just had breakfast with Bedros Koulian
Yeah.
the other day. He was in town, so yesterday I had breakfast with him. Asked him that same question because I knew his perspective on it, but I kind of wanted to dig deeper. He said the same thing: get a few of them really up
Yeah.
and running, getting them going right, and then from there start scaling the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, man, I'm so excited that we finally got you on the show.
Yeah.
I know you've been listening for a while. And man, I am learning from you, just so you know. Like, I'm watching you interact with people, and I'm like, there's a really good, savvy way to communicate that I can get from Delfin. So I appreciate what you're doing, man, and thank you so much for doing so much for this community. You're always here for anybody at Loudermore that needs anything, like the other members. So I appreciate everything, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks
Yeah.
for coming on the show.
I appreciate it.
And
Yes.
for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.